Yeah, no, it's like a lip exercise, like vicariously vigoring V. Like you got like warm up the lips a little bit. What do you do?
I don't do anything.
What do you mean you don't do anything? You just show up and raw dog it?
When I worked at the radio station,
Yeah.
I would show up and then I would take a drink of water, I would clear my throat, and then I would just read what I had to read for the day. And that was my warm up.
Wow, it must be nice not to vocal warm up before your podcast. All right, I'm sorry.
The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog.
Thank you for saying jumps. A lot of people don't say jumps. They're just like the quick brown fox jump, and they just leave it there. Like, no, every letter's there.
Sometimes more than once. The S, that's where the S is.
Yeah.
There's no other S in that sentence.
Yeah.
I think it's stupid.
So next time you see like a second grader and they're like, "Hey, do you know this sentence has every letter?" and they say jump, you can just kick them. That's okay. You can do that. Hey everybody, welcome to the Jankyard podcast. I'm Isaac.
I'm Logan.
And we just wanted to say thank you for tuning in again. We are a podcast where we make weird decks that you can take to your Friday Night Magics, take to your Pioneer things, and go 0-4.
And have fun doing it.
That's the main thing. We're here to have fun. In today's episode, I want to look at an old deck that I had in Arena a while ago and revamp it for current metagame and revamp it to be to like have the new cards that are a part of Pioneer. The old deck in question revolved around the card Biogenic Ooze. Logan, could you read off that card for the viewers?
Yes, it's 5 mana. It is a 2/2 ooze. When Biogenic Ooze enters the battlefield, you create a 2/2 green ooze. At the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each ooze you control. You can spend 4 mana, 1 and 3 green, to create a 2/2 green ooze creature token.
Yeah, so Biogenic Ooze has a lot going for it, but the main thing I care about, well, I guess the two main things. Obviously, when it enters, it makes your 2/2 ooze, which then at the end of your turn, you'll get a +1/+1 counter on your 2 oozes you have, getting 6 power total. That's pretty good. What I cared about, though, was duplicating the oozes and having a lot of power on the board very, very quickly. So ideally what it was like turn 1, your Lawnmower Elf. Cool. Turn 2, maybe you play a Paradise Druid, maybe you Growth Spiral, just getting a little more ramp. On turn 3, you can usually play your Biogenic Ooze, because you've got 5 mana at that point. And then on turn 4, you have a couple of different options for how to duplicate it. Repudiate, Replicate. It's got 2 different modes to it, but one of them is copy a creature you control. You've got Quasi-Duplicate, which is probably the all-star of the deck. Quasi-Duplicate is just copy a creature you control, but it's got Flashback. So if you exile a card from your hand, or discard a card?
It's discard.
Discard a card from your hand.
It's Jumpstart, right?
Yeah, it's Jumpstart. Discard a card from your hand, you can just cast it from the graveyard again. So in the same turn, when you have 6 mana, you can Quasi-Duplicate, and then Quasi-Duplicate from the graveyard. Fantastic card. Mirror Image as well is 3 mana. It gets you another ooze on the battlefield. But the whole idea is get an ooze on the battlefield, wait a turn, get more oozes on the battlefield through duplications. So the goal today is to try to revamp this deck and make it better for what the current Pioneer metagame is. Also including all of the sets that have come out since then and looking at their card libraries, figuring out what's some good stuff we can get in there.
When you made this deck at the time, this was standard legal.
This was standard legal.
Okay, so we are taking a standard ooze deck and making it Pioneer. This deck's goal is get big ooze out, copy ooze. Contrary to popular belief, this is not an ooze deck.
It is not.
This is a copy a fat creature deck, and it's a creature that can make more of itself, basically.
Yes. Okay. So basically, not even basically, Biogenic Ooze is just a really powerful effect to have a lot of on the board at one time. Like, if you get 4 Biogenic Oozes on the board, not even 4, let's scale it back a little bit. Back to when we're playing. Turn 3, play an ooze. Cool, you have 2 3/3s at the end of your turn. Turn 4, if you can copy that ooze twice with like a Quasi-Duplicate or 2 Mirror Images or whatever, you would have 4 more 2/2s. You would have 3 Biogenic Oozes total, and all of your creatures get 3 +1/+1 counters. So you'd have 2 6/6s and 4 5/5s. That's bonkers. That's funny. That makes you go, hell yeah. So if there's another creature in Pioneer that does something like that, I would totally be down for it.
As opposed to biogenic ooze.
I don't think opposed is the correct word. I'm thinking alongside. Because obviously having 4 biogenic ooze, that's the main drawback to the deck, is that you have to hit one of them. Luckily, we are in blue.
You're in green blue.
You are in green blue.
You have all the copies. Look at, because we just got it in Thunder Junction, check out Doppelgang.
Doppelgang, XXX green blue. For each of X target permanents, create X tokens that are copies of that permanent. Yeah, I think Doppelgang's a great card. I think my only issue with it is I don't think we're ramping hard enough to make Doppelgang worthwhile. Because really what you'd like is you want 8 mana. You want X to be 2.
It doesn't have to be 2.
It doesn't, but if you hit 5, you're only getting 1 copy, which is just worse than a lot of other copy spells we have. If we get to 8 mana, we get 4 biogenic oozes, and that's awesome.
Well, assuming you have 2 biogenic oozes to target.
Yes.
You would need to target 2 to get 4 total at the end of the resolution of the spell.
Well, the hope there would just be we already copied it once.
So for ramp, you have 4 elves, 4 paradise druid, 4 growth spiral.
Yeah.
And you want to hit 5 mana by turn 3. I mean, yeah, you turn 1 elf, you turn 2 druid, you'll have it, assuming you don't miss a land drop. So how effective of a ramp do you want? Do you want to ramp more, or did you feel like what you had at the time was effective enough?
I think what I had was pretty good. I could pretty reliably get an elf or get a ooze out turn 4 if I had it in my starting hand. That's really the other big kink in the deck, is getting what you need in your hand. So any draw, any fixing, any figuring out what you're going to do with that would be helpful.
There's I think, a better ramp creature for you.
It probably is.
Which is Incubation Druid instead of Paradise Druid. Which is, it taps for green, but then if it has a counter on it, a +1/+1 counter on it, it taps for 3 green.
I think I had this in the deck at one point. However, I think my big problem with it was its adapt 3 was on the same curve as ooze. It took up that slot.
I don't think you care about the adapt though, right?
Well, how would it get a counter?
We could find ways. I think we can. How much do we? 'Cause I don't want to change the deck too much, because I think what it's doing right now is just very basic. You ramp into an ooze, and then you copy the ooze, and you swing with the ooze, and you kill with the ooze. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if we wanted to stick with that game plan, we probably don't want to go too hard on changing how you get there, because how you get there is very simple.
Yeah.
But we're in Pioneer now.
Mm-hmm.
So now we've got some funny ideas, assuming you're okay with changing a couple of the engines.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I am down to anything with this deck. I'm down to change out biogenic ooze if we find a better creature, but I want the sort of idea of copying things to be the main focus.
How often did you lose to a board wipe?
I mean, there's no protection against it.
Which leads me to my second card idea, which is the Ozolith, which just protects against board wipes.
I do love the Ozolith. That is an awesome include.
Okay.
That's probably a 2 of.
I do like it just because you lose all of your creatures. The Ozolith keeps your counters. And then you can play Incubation Druid.
So are we already swapping out Paradise Druid for Incubation Druid?
I would. I think we can effectively get the counter on Incubation Druid, and you won't have to worry about it. Paradise Druid is hexproof if it's untapped. That's okay. I don't think it's too big of a deal.
The other simple idea I've had was we're making token copies of Biogenic Ooze, but it keeps its mana cost, which means we have mana pips, which means we have devotion.
You want to run Nykthos.
Nykthos is kind of a funny card in this deck.
How many pips are you running?
There are 2 on each Biogenic Ooze. You also have the one off of Incubation Druid, the one off of Lawnmower Elf, and you do not play a lot of other permanents. So yeah, your mana pips in the deck, you've got really right now we're only playing 3 creatures in the deck. It's Biogenic Ooze, Lawnmower Elf, and Incubation Druid. You'd also have Hydroid Krasis, but honestly I'm thinking of removing that from the deck just because it's not that fun.
That's not enough to warrant using Nykthos.
It's not, but here's the thing. You copy the Biogenic Ooze with its cost. So you just get more and more and more and keep it going and keep it going. And then you can doppelgang for like 11, get 9 Biogenic Oozes, and have 18 more mana
Everyone
pips.
at the table hates you.
Yeah.
I'm going to write down my 9 copies of Ooze and throw them all on the board.
You're sitting there with a graphing calculator figuring out how many pips you have.
You show up with a pocket protector and a pencil in your ear and everything. For Arena, this is really funny. In paper, this would be really annoying.
In paper, I don't think this is that bad.
Maybe if you don't copy 6. If there's like 3 or 4, sure.
Which is where the deck normally gets to. Once it gets to like, if you curve out perfectly, you get to turn 4, you copy Ooze twice. Okay, I have 32 power on the board. Figure it out. At that point, most opponents look at that and go, all right, let's go with the next one.
You get to that point pretty quickly, like turn 5 or 6, right? Which is probably an effective time to kill with this kind of deck.
Yeah.
I think we should probably throw in more of a 1-drop mana ramp. I think you should throw in Elvish Mystic too. Just because I'm a little worried about you not having the guaranteed turn 1 mana rock. I think having 8 copies...
8 copies of the 1 rock?
Is probably a good idea. Because
I think that's fine.
Then you're pretty much... You're trying to set it up so that your initial starting hand is trying to have one of those guaranteed on your opening hand. Incubation Druid turn 2 is phenomenal, but you can still get there with a couple of mana rocks regardless of what it is.
There's probably a better option than my card draw I've gotten in here right now. I've currently got 4 Omen of the Seas and 4 Chemister's Insights.
Chemister Insight is just a bad card now.
Okay.
Omen of the Sea sees play in Yorion control decks. But that's just because the Yorion can get extra value out of it by flickering it. As it is currently, it's solid. I actually personally I love Omen of the Sea.
Yeah.
A lot of people in control decks now run what's the 2 mana investigate draw card? Deduce.
Yeah.
So like a lot of people run Deduce now because they're like, that's just better. But I personally, my heart goes out to Omen of the Sea. I still think that's a better card. But this deck depends on how you want to do it.
I want to dig deep.
You want to go deep.
What's that one from either? It's one of the core sets. It's got like a fish in the art.
Drawn from Dreams. 4 mana sorcery. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. Put 2 of them into your hand and the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. Akin to this is Memory Deluge, which I think more people would run just because that's an instant. So Memory Deluge is 4 mana. You look at the top X cards where X is the number of mana you spent to cast it. And then it has Flashback for 7.
That's so much mana.
We're ramping hard.
4 mana. So 4 mana is fine. 7 mana?
Easy.
No.
We have Incubation Druid. We've got
8 elves.
8 elves. 8 elves.
Realistically, how fast are you going to cast that and then cast it again? Also, I think if we're casting it again, we have lost the game.
I mean, it is a good control card for that reason, but I still think Memory Deluge is a little better. I don't think you need to go 7 deep. I think that's a little intense. I think Memory Deluge is fine as an option, and you have the option later to get more cards anyways. It's better to have the option to get more cards later than it is to not have that option, period. I almost wonder, because like you have Growth Spiral in there already. That's another option aside from Incubation Druid that still gets you 1 mana ahead of the opponent. So we now have 2 different ideas for turn 1 and turn 2 on mana ramp.
Yeah.
Turn 3, the goal is the ooze. I almost wonder, should you have a second type of creature that's like
that?
The ooze?
Is where I was originally with before, where it was I don't know that there's another card that kind of does what ooze does as well as it does it. Like, if there's anything close to what ooze does, perfect. It can't be anything legendary because you can't copy legendaries.
Unless you use Spark Double.
Yeah, unless we use Spark Double, which is a worse card than what we're already running in the deck. But you need to play things that can copy themselves, have an effect on the board, get you somewhere. And I think I have a card that kind of does that sort of bridges the gap between card draw and the ooze, as well as being our creature that we need.
Okay.
It looked like you had something too.
No, it was an idea, not a card.
Okay, well, let's say both are things at the same time and see if they're the right thing, like the same thing. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
What
Cavalier
does
of
biogenic
Thorns.
ooze do to make you want to copy it?
So Cavalier of Thorns, when it enters the battlefield, reveal the top 5 cards of your library, put a land from among them onto the battlefield, the rest in your graveyard. Ramps you. Perfect. When it dies, you put something from the graveyard on the top of the library. So we are digging for the ooze. Oh no, the ooze goes in the yard. It's on top. Look at that.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Cav of Thorns is a fantastic card.
Yeah,
It's pretty good.
it's pretty good.
Why do we care?
Because it's got 3 green mana pips.
But it's not anything like biogenic ooze.
But you can
You're just
copy
putting
it.
it in there so you can run Nykthos.
It's
You don't-
no. It's also a 5/6 body. It's big.
Sure,
It's got reach.
but ooze make body bigger.
Cavalier of Thorns kills Vein Ripper.
If they choose to block with it,
If they swing with Vein Ripper, we block with it. Cavalier of Thorns has reach.
that's cool. Vein Ripper is not swinging when you have a Cav of Thorns on the field. They're just gonna kill it.
All right. Well, so to answer your question from earlier, biogenic ooze fills up the board quickly, gets you big stuff quickly, all while not being legendary. Also, its effect that it does multiplies upon itself.
Okay, so we need a card that can multiply your board or itself. Or, I mean, preferably both. But I think...
Preferably, we just play 8 biogenic oozes, but I'm not Richard Garfield.
So let's do some sleuthing. It's time to sleuth.
Editor, put in a sleuthing montage. He raised his hands. What you got for us?
Guys, I think I found the reason to play this card in Pioneer now. Hold on, actually. Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm now having flashbacks. Wait a second.
Oh! I just remembered a card too!
Say yours first, because I'm checking to see if mine's
No,
legal.
we have to say it at the same...
I'm checking to see if mine's
No, we're both thinking the same card. Say it on 3, ready?
Okay.
Say it on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Agent of Treachery.
Yes!
Okay,
Put this binder back.
is
I
it-
looked at that card earlier. I went, wait a minute, is it banned? You said I gotta go look at the ban list. I was like, hold on. Okay, yeah, Agent of Treachery. That's the card you play.
Agent of Treachery comes in. It takes permanence.
You can
Which-
take lands.
You can take lands. There will always be a target for Agent of Treachery.
Which now means I feel comfortable playing Doppelgang. If we can steal lands, I think 2 Doppelgang is fine.
Okay. All right. See, now we got something fun.
We're getting there, baby.
Okay.
We're actually making it.
So,
Okay, hold on.
Back to the deck list. We've got...
Ozolith. Are we keeping the Ozolith?
I think a couple is funny, and technically it's good to protect against board wipes or removal.
It is a one of.
That's the one of funny card.
That's the one of funny
card.
Let me get one of funny card.
The
My
Oozolith.
forehead looks awful.
The Oozolith. We're calling it the Oozolith.
One of funny card.
One of Oozolith.
Okay. One of Ozolith. Oozolith.
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 The Oozolith.
Oozolith.
Do we want to throw in something like Memory Deluge? Because, like, in your original list, you had Hydroid Crisis. How effective was that at, like, keeping you going? Was that necessary?
Hydroid Crisis was bomb in Standard. and I had 3 of them, and I went, oh yeah, it's card draw. It's a body. It gains life. It does everything I want it to, but it didn't work for the deck.
If you purely do want card draw, though, yeah, something like Deluge would be better than Krasis.
Exactly.
That's probably fair.
Deluge is top 4. It's how much mana you spend.
It's how much mana you spend on it. So if you spend 4 the first time, it's you look at the top 4, pick 2, put them in your hand. You don't reveal them, which in case that's something that is relevant to you.
I think Memory Deluge is fine.
So do you think we have it now? Is this the deck? Is this the ooze
Other
copy
than
deck?
the very incomplete sideboard, absolutely. The sideboard right now is 4 Scavenging Ooze, 4 Spell Pierce, 4 Blossoming Defense. Oh, yeah, okay, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I got you. All right, well, that's the deck. Well, I mean, we increased the amount of things you could target with copies, because Agent of Treachery was banned in Standard.
Yes. That's why I had to think about it, because it was banned in Standard.
That's why it wasn't played.
Totally fine in Pioneer.
Yeah, that's why it wasn't played in the original list. Yeah. So we have more targets to copy. We have a little bit more ramp. We dropped back on the card draw. That's the deck.
Are you ready to go 0-4 with oozes?
I am.
I'm not. Don't do that. Thanks for watching, everyone. Check us out on all of your social media accounts. We'll post shorts. We'll post other episodes as we get them by to ya. And let's hope you guys have a fun time in your next Friday Night Magic.
Bye.